the warmth, the effect that you make on each other, that we all, we influence each other. Masajid, why do we stand so close in Jamaat? Why? Because all this closeness, it bonds people with each other. And ulama, they want to meet people and talk to people closely so that they listen to their issues and answer them, and everyone's issue is different. If you sit at home and listen to a program, someone else is asking a question, where's your question? For example, if 5 people are in a clinic, just each person comes into and sees the doctor, the doctor will not say, well, next person, same prescription, the third person, same prescription. Imagine what will happen if the doctor uses the same prescription for 5 people, So it's the same thing with the kind of work we try to do is, it has to be individualized. People, everyone is different. No one can take your place. You have your own place. In Alam-e-Hasti, Allah has created you, given you your own, your own channel towards Himself. There is inside your soul, there is a channel, and once that channel opens, you can learn anything from the heaven. I just mentioned some ayat, and they relate to importance of knowledge. So I will just summarize this. It's important to attend discussions with ulama, and physically, inshallah, attend these programs. Salawat. Now, the question that was asked about the system of learning, the importance Islam places on education. And of course, we have to first know what education is. There are some people who try to oversimplify it. For example, education means religious education. Nothing else is education. The only education is religious education. Now, this kind of looking at Islam produces many problems. Of course, religious education, if used to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like for example, learning the Holy Quran, Arabic qira'at, that you use qurbatan ilallah, to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, this of course is the best way, right? But it is, sometimes there are ways in which you learn the science, for example. While you are studying Quran, while you are studying about Islam, you are studying science. But you don't just study science to make a career out of it or to earn money. You are not studying science to get a degree or to be called masters, or a doctor or something. Rather, you are studying science, and along with those other things that will happen eventually, your purpose is to understand this creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So, for one person, exploration of universe will bring him close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or her, right? You look at the universe around you, and if you feel the greatness, the azamat and jabarut of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greatness of His creation, and you are overwhelmed by this, tears come into your eyes, your heart is affected, khushu is generated, right? What were you doing? Were you reading Quran? No, actually you are reading the Quran of Takween. You're reading this nature, you're reading the universe. And that is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Speaks about God. The universe speaks about God. It is the manifestation of Allah, His sifat and His mazahir and His ayat and asma, right? Are all manifested in our world, of physical world. If you study science with this eye, right, you can gain taqarrub of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this way. Why? Because you can looking at and this is actually what Quran also in many places presents. Huwa alladhi khalaqa. He is the one who created, right? And He talks about all different kinds of creations that He has shown to you And while he has shown to you, he also says that we have shown to you very little of what we have created. Very little of that. Like a drop in the ocean, or even less. Even that example is not right. Drop. What is this drop? What is this physical world compared to the alam akhirat? Forget about akhirat, even alam barzakh. This world, physical world, cannot be compared to alam barzakh even. If you want to compare this dunya with the akhirat, you would compare like a child in the womb to this dunya. You compare our presence in this world to alam barzakh. And you compare alam barzakh to alam akhirat. It is that much of a difference. So so seeking knowledge is important, because seeking knowledge in this manner, huwa alladhi, in this manner, look at the universe, he. With the salawat, I may elaborate a little bit on Muhammad. And sisters, brothers, whoever is present here, please just raise your hand, or if you have written the questions, I would encourage if someone could collect the questions and pass them to me. So I would try to address some of them. And let me go to that question. The system of learning is actually exactly what our Aimma alayhimus salam established. The way it should be is that you first master your Arabic skills, Arabic language skills in understanding Quran and Hadith. Now, spoken Arabic is very good, but spoken Arabic is not the idea. It's not the goal is not to spoken Arabic. The spoken Arabic may come as a result of your learning Arabic, but the main idea is the text, Quranic text and text of Hadith. You should be able to understand. That requires a lot of study. Even for Arabs who go, to Hausa to study Islamic sciences, they have to go through a very elaborate system course in Arabic language, and that involves grammar, sarf, nahv, ma'ani, bayan, and different sciences, ulum al-Arabiya they call it. They study all those. That is there, and then followed by that you have studies in logic and philosophy to some level till the ninth year of education. Along with that, you study history, Tarikh al-Islam. You study tafsir, of course. You study very early, start tafsir very early, and there are books that go step by step. There are very basic books of tafsir that explain the meanings of words in Adabi, because while you are studying Arabic, you apply that in understanding, comprehension of language of Quran. So there are Adabi tafasir about literary tafasir, about just to open up the language, how this word is composed of, what the sentence structure is, what possible ways of understanding that expression, and all of those. It's pretty detailed. Then there you enter into Hadith, Ilm al-Rijal, Ilm al-Diraya. That's about the narrators, and that's about the text, the Hadith itself. There are different classifications of different kinds of Hadith, Sahih, Za'if, Musnad, Mursal, all of these different kinds. And you study Risalatul Amaliyah. Start, for example, day one, you start with the same things you use Tawzi'ul Masail, First, the student learns about the one whole overview of Islamic laws. Taharat, Salat, Hajj, Jihad, all of these, Khums, other things, Nikah, Talaq, very, very basic overview. Then he goes into second stage of that, about some small, simple reasoning about this is this because of this. This laws come from this. Some basic, simple, very simple reasonings. One Quran, one Hadith, ayat, and different. It's very brief. Even that brief thing takes about 2-3 years to cover that. Lum'a, they call it book of Lum'a. Usually takes 3 years. Right? That is covered. Then you get into the stage of fiqh istidlali. That means the books which now have more detailed juristic discussions about, for example, how to derive for example, more detailed books where juristic discussions, ijtihadi guftugu. That means, for example, any area of law, transactions, for example. There's a book called Maqasid al-Muharrama. Sheikh Murtaza Ansari is grave as a Najafi Ashraf. There's a masjid of Shaykh Murtaza Ansari also in Najaf al-Ashraf. He has a book, Kitab al-Makasib, Makasib Muharram, haram transactions. He just talks in detail about transactions, what makes transactions legal, what makes them illegal, right? And very detailed, pretty detailed study. And there are khiyarat, different sections of the book. Yes, and followed by that, basically when, yes, usul al-fiqh, another subject that is studied in Hawza is usul al-fiqh. So that one was fiqh, laws, becoming more and more, complex, if I use the word. Along with that is another science which is called principles of jurisprudence. Principles of jurisprudence means the qawaid, the principles that are used to derive Islamic laws. So there is a separate subject in itself. For example, a person doesn't just start using Quranic ayat and hadith to derive laws. No, there's a whole science. A person who eventually wants to become a jurist, a mujtahid, has to actually become a master of not just fiqh, but usul al-fiqh also. Just as he has to be an expert in ilm al-rijal, right? And has to be an expert in diraya, understanding the hadith classifications, and of course those other things are prerequisites either way. But usul al-fiqh is also very important. Now we are not very familiar with usul al-fiqh. We know about usul al-din, If I ask you what usul al-din is, can anyone tell me what usul al-din? Yes, thank you very much. Sorry? Oh. Anyone? Usul al-din, furu al-din. What's usul al-din? Right? Usul al-din means basic beliefs, tawheed, adl, nabuwat, right? These are usul al-din. They are the roots of religion. You want to say something? Okay, so usul al-din are the basic 5, fundamental beliefs. But there's another subject called usul al-fiqh. That's not the same as usul al-din. Usul al-fiqh is not like usul al-din. It's a subject, it's a science in itself that is developed as a result of centuries of work into, for example, what are the general guidelines coming out of Quran and Hadith plus musallamat aqli, the universal, rules of intellect. That, for example, two opposites don't come together. Two opposites cannot be there at the same time. Like night and day together cannot exist, or same thing cannot be black and white at the same time. I'm making it oversimplifying it actually, but it's much more comprehensive than these things. But you have to master all of these things, and actually a jurist has to have his own nazar, his own view, expert's view about each of the thousands of issues discussed and studied in usul al-fiqh, so that he basically learns how to use Quran and Hadith for deriving Islamic laws. Salawat, please. When all of these subjects come together, that takes around 9 to 10 years. 10 years at least, if you study right properly. 9 to 10 years, you only get to the point where all of these subjects seem to be coming together now. We've been studying Arabic, history, hadith, rijal, diraya, fiqh, usul fiqh. What else did I say? All of these things, right? Falsafa, mantiq, all of these converge. You reach a level that you have completed this milestone, you have reached this milestone, finished this book, like tons of these books. When you have finished all of them with teachers, not just reading them. It has to be studied word by word, but with the help, under the guidance of a teacher. He has to explain the actual text of the books, not just explain the concept, actually apply them on the text. Explain it, then read the text and say, this is how the author is describing this meaning through these words, because there are legal, technical language used in all those books. When all of that happens, you reach a stage which is called kharij. So this first, all these stages, you could say dakhil, because it's like a student who is studying in a school, within a school, teachers are coming, teaching, 9 years pass. Now he's going kharij. Kharij means outside. Now you are going to lectures where people from different places, institutions, cities, different places where people have reached that same rank of learning, they come together, attend a scholarly discussion where the mujtahid is not using a book anymore. He's not using any text. He will say about an issue. Now there are kharij also of two subjects. One is kharij of fiqh, and another is kharij of usul. So they are like Ayatollah Fazil Lankarani was teaching usul al-fiqh and also fiqh, two different lessons. He was like giving two different dars kharij, right? How it's done, dars kharij means the mujtahid, for example, there are many ways mujtahids used in teaching kharij. It's not the same. I'm not trying to oversimplify. I don't want you to think this is the only way kharij is done. There's many ways. But one general way that many mujtahids are using is that they present a problem, an issue, right? For example, in ruku, how many times do you say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamdih? And he will say, okay, read an ayah of Quran, if any, read hadith, some hadith, and start presenting arguments in favor of one viewpoint, and then arguments in favor of another viewpoint. For example, one viewpoint could be 3 times you say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamdih. Another viewpoint could be once is enough, right? Another could be you can say Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah 3 times, that is enough. Another says any zikr from Quran, any zikr from the du'as or of narrations you could read. Who knows? I'm just presenting you a very, a problem, a farzi problem. Now, all of these views are presented, arguments are presented. Allama Hilli says this, his arguments are this. Allama so and so says, so this very expanded view about who says what. This is one way of doing it. Not all mujtahids do this. This is an easy way of addressing a problem. There are ways that are much more complicated. So it's like a wide angle view, looking at all that's there. Then he says, okay, then he says arguments about what he believes in. He tries to say, okay, he for example negates the views that for this reason, this argument of Allama so and so I don't agree with. And then he sometimes counters his opinion, then it presents another counter opinion from himself. So back and forth to train the student in learning how to, argue and how to derive, and arrive at a result, which is sound. At least the methodology should be sound. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows really what the rule is. For example, is it wajib to say 3 times Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamdih? For example. Or once is wajib. Eventually, who decides which one is the real, in Lawh Mahfuz, which one is the real law? Well, either Imam Zaman alayhi salam knows, Allahumma sallam, and his knowledge coming from the Holy Prophet and from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So they are the ones who really know what the law is. But for us, 1400 years later, after the time of Holy Prophet, what is available is the text and aqli usul, and we use them, we apply them to understand the law, right? And so the mujtahid wants to make sure that the students who are attending his lectures, they write these notes and they write their own thesis on the subject, right? And they show that they have understood and followed the method of research, method of argument, juristic arguments, right? So that they can, whether what result they get from it may be different from the teacher. The teacher may believe that this is the fatwa, the student may arrive at a different result. And the student, that one research doesn't make him a mujtahid. It's practice, He presents, and usually students who are really serious, they work closely with the mujtahid for many years. Because for example, you study Kitab al-Tahara with one mujtahid, that may take 3-4 years. We are not talking about reading the ahkam now. We're talking about research. We're talking about views of scholars and the different sciences involved in deriving the Islamic law. Pretty, very extensive study. Not everyone is really tuned to that. Not every student of religious learning is capable of following that discussion. Many either become tired, they'll go into the field of tabligh. Many don't stay, many just attend as a passive listener. You see the difference between you are listening to a lecture and and you are there to actively listen to something. You kind of try to form an opinion. What is right? Judge, decide what is right, what is wrong, and how the teacher is trying to explain. You counter sometimes. If you listen in a typical dars kharij in home, if you sit and just watch what is going on, you will be really surprised. It is not a lecture. It is a two-way communication going on. Sometimes 10, 20 people are raising their hands trying to counter the teacher, and he's answering and they're answering back, and this kind of argument going on in the dars kharij. Generally, dars kharij are very interactive lessons. Sometimes most of the time of the teacher is spent in arguing and answering. It's a legal battle kind of going on, discussing, because he's trying to prove his point that students are learning. This is training, training to become a jurist. Learning how to practice ijtihad. It's not easy. It takes 10 years, 20 years for many people. Easily. 15 to 20 years to become a mujtahid is average. There are some who are really, really very sharp, very intelligent, and plus they work very hard. Sometimes they become mujtahid in 10 years, 9 years. So it's a process of at least 20 years to become a mujtahid. Salawat. If anyone is still trying to fall asleep, please recite a louder salawat. So many questions. Well, what is the difference between soul and spirit? Okay. I'm trying to see which questions relate to our this point I was explaining. This one seems to be. Okay, this one is another relevant one with this discussion. Okay. Good. These two questions are about this subject. Are there ways of research the qualifications? Are there ways to research the qualifications of alims? Because lately there has been much controversy over qualifications and validity of some alims in the USA. Who do you consider as the senior most? I don't mean the name, I mean the rank. What is the rank of, in your view, of the most senior alim in Shia faith, for example? Mujtahid, right? So, for example, if you want to understand, okay, who is an alim and who is not, you should see, has he been certified by any mujtahid? It doesn't mean the mujtahid appoints an alim. For example, for a given masjid, it doesn't mean the mujtahid will necessarily appoint an alim, but he should have the credentials, right, from a mujtahid who says that, for example, you are a mujtahid, for example, or you have reached such and such level. You have finished all those 9-10 years of learning. I mean, that is at least the minimum. That is the minimum that a person should have, because if you have not started dars kharij, that means you haven't studied the text even. And you are talking about Islam, and Islam means these are the tools of understanding Islam. These really the tools of understanding Islam. In any science you go, you have to reach a certain level so that you can at least understand what that subject is, because you have to understand a little. Yes, mashallah. So that is one way to validate. Either have a certificate, ijaza, regarding the education of the alim. You have reached this level of learning, for example. And sometimes such a certification is not there. The minimum thing you can have is, for example, what we call ijaza. That is, he has endorsed, he has given you the credential to do tabligh of Islam and use resources. For example, people bring kafarat, khums, zakawat, I don't know, mazalim al-ibad, other things people bring to Maulana. This is money, I don't know, money of kafara. I don't know what to do with this. Please. So usually the ijazah of the mujtahid mentions all these things. Similarly, there are other things. For example, umur hisbiyah. Umur hisbiyah is another category that an alim, if he is allowed to take care of those things, it's also mentioned in the ijazah. Umur hisbiyah are things that you cannot let it just, sit there. Somebody has to attend to those things. Now, the children, the parents have died, the children out there, if they'll be given to foster homes. Now, somebody has to find some guardian for these Muslim children. You cannot let these children go into, non-Muslim hands. So someone has to have the authority to be save the child. Or for example, there is some property. Nobody is an owner of that property. Somebody has to have the ability to say, okay, pick it up, bring it to me. And then you have the permission from mujtahid to disperse that money in its right place. Whoever is, the right candidate to receive the funds, you disperse it over there. Umur hisbiyah. Their children sometimes need to be adopted. Somebody has to take care of that. All of the different things fall into this category. So that's not about education. That's about authorization to use the resources. That doesn't mean this person has completed 10 years of learning or 20 years of learning. That just means maybe he studied just 4 or 5 years, but he has been authorized because he has reached some level that he understands Islamic law. At least he has some basic skills. So I think I should shorten my answers. Okay. Follow a well-known mujtahid. I follow a well-known mujtahid. According to him, one person's mujtahid is his wali faqih. But I hear other things from some of my brothers. They believe there's only one wali faqih, rahbar of Iran, and other mujtahids are not wali faqih. Who is right? My mujtahid or my muqallid brothers? Wilayat, let me put it this way. In your house, now if you are the head of the family, and somebody wants to just come into your house, say, okay, I want to come into your house and this is my room, right? Does he have the authority? Does he have the authority to enter your house? Answer me. No. Okay, my question is why? Why doesn't he have the authority? A stranger, because he's not the wali of this household, right? He doesn't have wilayat. The head of the family, the father, has the wilayat over his family. Correct? Otherwise, anyone can do anything, right? Why do we have families? Why do we have fathers? Why do we have guardians, right? The guardian has wilayat. Why? Because of his role in the family, because of his responsibilities, he also has authority that's given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then similarly you go to other places, for example masjid. Well, in the masjid, an alim who has attained this level of learning, who has been authorized by some mujtahid to perform these obligations, he has a certain wilayat in his own. It's probably more than the wilayat of a father in a house, because that's about limited area and few people. Now this is masjid's wilayat of an alim is about the community, and it's pretty serious matter. A lot of things are involved. Death is involved, family divorces, I don't know, people's future, dunya and akhirat is involved. Father is responsible for the deen and dunya of three children, 5 children, and his wife. And the alim is responsible for the dunya and akhirat of a lot of people. This is a pretty serious matter, right? If you, for example, look at the level of a city, a mayor of a city. Now whether it's a Muslim mayor or a Kafir mayor, but he has wilayat over there. We are not just talking about religious wilayat, I mean authority. Somebody has to be in control. Somebody has to be in control over all the matters under that jurisdiction, right? You call him wali in Arabic. Wali. Wali is the person who is ruling, like governor, like governor. You go to the head of the state. Of course, in America there are states and then there's the whole nation. So in other parts of the world, there's head of the state means head of a country. Now here, head of the country means United States. It's president. So whether it's a good president or a bad president, Muslim, Kafir, whoever he is, but he has, authority. He has wilayat. Now this wilayat is not a wilayat, probably not mashru', probably not a wilayat that is legitimized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is a real authority. He is the person in charge, right? He's the person in charge, whether you like it or not, whether Deen subscribes to it or not. But Deen recognizes the fact that even if the person is illegitimate, ruler has authority. Now Islam may not say, he is the right ruler. Islam doesn't endorse every ruler, but the fact that he is a ruler, you cannot deny that. Wali is a wali. So if a mujtahid similarly becomes a wali of a nation, the nation comes together, votes to support the mujtahid. Any mujtahid, people come together and support him. Now Allah has given this mujtahid a wilayat which is in Shariat, right? Just as an alim has been given wilayat, if he becomes the imam of a masjid, because of the support of the people, he has wilayat over that jama'at, right? Similarly, if all the people of a country come together and support, place power in the hands of a mujtahid jami'ul shara'it, this mujtahid becomes wali faqih, wali of the country, wali faqih. What does it mean, wali faqih? It means the faqih is a mujtahid who is wali, he's the guardian, he's the jurist guardian. He's a mujtahid who is the guardian or the ruler of the state. Why? By virtue of the credentials that he has from Islam, and the actualization of this wilayat happened because of the support of the masses, right? People didn't make him the wali faqih, mind you. Keep this in your mind. People don't make wali faqih a wali faqih. No. People provide support to that mujtahid who had the qualification to become a wali faqih by their vote, by their referendum, by their popular support. They give power into his hands. Well, if you ask me, then who made him wali faqih? Who gave him legitimacy? Who is going to answer that?
So my understanding is the faqih is on the basis of his education and knowledge.
Taqwa, ilm, basirat, yes. Administrative skills also. How can you run a government if you don't have the administrative skills? You have to have basirat. Aqwahum bi amrillahi fi, as Nahjul Balagha points to, Imam said the ruler has to be a'lamuhum bi amri deen, has to be most knowledgeable in matters of religion. Wa aqwahum, he is to be the strongest person who can administer the nation. And he has to have the vision and basirat to plan for future, to have a vision, to guide the people, right? It is not about my opinion and your opinion. It is just wali means president of a country, a person in power. Sometimes they call it chancellor, sometimes they call it president, sometimes they call it prime minister. No matter what they call him. In Arabic language, they call him wali or wali. Sometimes they call him Raisud-Dawla, sometimes they call him other things. Wali means president or leader of a nation, chancellor, prime minister, whatever you call him, right? The person who has the ultimate power in his hand is wali or wali, right? Now in Islamic context, since a jurist is a person who knows best what is good for the society, a mujtahid who has learned about all these sciences, finished all his courses, 40, 50 years of learning and teaching and administering the affairs of a hawza, reaching a rank that he's guiding a nation, reaching a level where he can confront injustice, remove injustice from society, establish a government, people come and support him. It's real power. but the power for the sake of deen and Islam, not a power for the sake of personal gain. That is the difference. The power of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was not Allahumma sallam, was power, but it was not for personal gain, right? Yes. Sorry, don't worry. Okay, many of these questions are regarding Shari rules. I would not want to go too much into Shari rules, also because time constraint we have tonight, and also because that needs a separate gathering. Not all fatwa can be discussed here. First of all, I don't mean to claim that I know the answers. Secondly, also because sometimes there's too much difference of opinion. Your mujtahid may be different from another, and if I start explaining this mujtahid says that and that mujtahid says that, so everyone's case is peculiar, is unique to your own situation. So you can come after this gathering, and I will answer you. But let's see some of these. So if you understand the meaning of wilayat, which means political authority, all right, some marjas don't believe in wilayat faqih. That is not true. If someone does not believe in wali faqih is out of Shia religion, why wali faqih is important in Shiaism? If a woman goes to, actually that's another. No, there's no such difference between mujtahids about wilayat itself. Wilayat faqih is not a matter of accepting or rejecting. It's not that. It's within the subject itself there are certain differences. All of them believe, and the differences are very scientific, very technical. To discuss them here means like overblowing something, blowing up something which is out of proportion. It's not something. To say that wilayat faqih is like a course in Hawza Ilmiya. Like you study Kitab al-Tahara, you study the chapter about, Salat, Zakat, you also study Wilayat al-Faqih. And it comes under many discussions. Again, under discussion of Kitab al-Bay, about Tijarat and transactions. The issue of Wilayat al-Faqih comes under situation of orphans, who will take care of the orphans in a society. And well, it seems to be a lot of interest in Wilayat al-Faqih here. So our mujtahids do not differ on the wilayat itself. I think some occasion we need to organize a workshop, a very technical workshop, where we address this problem, this issue of wilayat al-faqih, because there is a lot of discussion involved. You have to come prepared just to talk about wilayat al-faqih, because if I address this subject, I'm pretty sure some of you people will get confused, because it requires some prerequisites. I have to at least have a discussion of half an hour to 1 hour just to put the things together, pieces. And on the basis of that foundation, I discuss another level. And if I see that all of us have come to that stage, then we'll leave the rest of the discussion for another time. But in simple forms, I have already explained to you. Wilayat al-Faqih means administration of a country by a mujtahid. And I think if nation comes together and supports a mujtahid to become the hakim, right, I don't think anyone would reject that. Well, if America is ruled by whoever, because the nation supports the president, another nation comes together and elects a mujtahid, why would you dispute that? What's wrong with that, right? If today, for example, the Mu'mineen and people of Iraq come together and place in power one of the mujtahideen or maraj taqleed, why would anyone, for example, dispute that? No one has the right. People come together and bring a mujtahid into power, then he is legitimate ruler of the country. Now, if he, for example, appoints someone as the governor of a place, as someone in judiciary, another person well, that's the system they established. As long as, to say the least, if people are in support of a mujtahid, what is your problem? Nobody should have a problem, right? To say the least. I am taking the least position, the minimum position on this subject right now. Now, if I want to expand it, you will see that this is Alhamdulillah, if you look, for example, subject is important. Okay, who makes wali faqih? I've already mentioned, but in our Shia faith, we believed in the event of Ghadir, right? Did the Holy Prophet on the day of Ghadir, for example, ask the people, okay, who is in favor of Ali? Raise your hands. How many of you would want to support Ali? Is this what the Holy Prophet did in Ghadir Khum? Did he ask the people, okay, whoever wants Ali as his Mawla, please raise your hand. Did he do that? Did he ask the people to make Ali the ruler? He said, Man kuntu mawlahu fahadha aliyun mawla. Allahumma wali man wala. Doesn't this send a message? The ruler in Islam has to have some credentials. If they are there, he is the ruler. Now, it is the matter of the people whether they support him or not. In one country, the mujtahid with all the credentials sitting there waiting for people to support him. They don't. Is it his fault? It's not his fault. It's a problem of the people why they don't do that. In another nation is aware. They come together with basirat and shuja'at and quwwat, and they give authority to the mujtahid who already has the credentials. Allah has made this mujtahid the wali of that country. You know, all he needs is popular support of people. He's doing what he can. But and people come and support him, so this position that Allah has already given him, it actualizes. You see, it manifests because of the support of people. So people are not making him wali faqih. This is the deep point which needs to be studied in a workshop. How do we say Allah has given? Well, we believe in imamat. We believe in wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. And the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is a universal wilayat, right? Which is not only political power, but political power is a branch of that. Political power is part of the overall wilayat of an Imam MASOM, right? Now, our mujtahid becomes the political leader of a country. He's not like Imam Ali alayhi salam, because Imam Ali has power over universe. But he is the wali of a country, both because he has the religious credentials and also because of popular support of the masses. But this requires a lot more study. Yes, please.
This subject is important enough here, Maulana. A lot of discussion going on this issue. So, what my understanding here is that faqih is, because of his education and knowledge, religious knowledge, and wali is that he just happened to be the leader of that country. Am I clear on that?
Wali in Arabic language means leader of a country. Yes. Wali is the leader of a country, yes.
So basically, now I'm just going to ask one question here, so people can understand. We believe in Iranian leadership, there's no question about it. But there are people here, they might not consider any God as the wali of faqih. Where do we stand?
We are talking about faqih, mujtahid.
Okay.
You know, so I mean,
It's very clear now.
yeah, so we are not talking about anyone. We are talking about a mujtahid, Jami' al-Shara'it, who actually has fatawa, book of rules, laws, certified by other mujtahideen, contemporary mujtahideen as a mujtahid, Jami' al-Shara'it.
So when Ayatollah Khamenei was the leader of Islamic Republic,
For example,
all Shias definitely believe he is a wali of faqih. There is no room for disagreement here, is there?
wali means leader. If you believe he's a faqih and mujtahid, then
Okay.
what's the discussion about? I don't know. It becomes already clear. Just dissect this term. Just put wali on one side and say what Arabic it means. Wali means ruler of a country. Faqih, well, I don't know if there's any disagreement about ijtihad of one of our mujtahideen. We all believe they are mujtahids. Even the mujtahids believe they are mujtahids. Ask anyone. There's whole a list of mujtahideen of Hawza who have certified, who have endorsed his ijtihad. So actually the discussion should not be about this title, because it's just like denying the sun. It's like, if it's daytime, you should know this is sun, you know. Yes.
Do we have discretion to condemn Wali Faqih authority or this jurisdiction? I mean, being a Shia.
Okay, jurisdiction, you mean like political power? Political power is there. For example, a person may disagree with if a mujtahid is his wali or not. For example, one person may say that I don't believe he's my leader. For example, one person may say I don't believe he's my political leader. Right? So he's fine. It's okay not to agree, not to accept, right? Because it does not take you out of Islam. But it is the denying of a reality, denying of a reality, because the same rule you apply to elect any president of any country, at least that minimum standard is already in place. So what are you denying? Like a person who says, I don't believe so-and-so is president of this country. Well, you may disagree with that, but the fact remains is he is the president right now. So, and that remains the fact, right? Now he may say, well, I don't think he should have the authority. But that's your own view, fine. Maybe you have some background, you have studied Quran or Hadith, and you have maybe reached this conclusion. Fine, we give you that right, fine, okay. Now but you should see what's your education in Islam, you know. Again, this is something we leave it to people to understand with reason. We are not talking about, for example, placing a standard that, okay, anyone who believes in Lat Faqih is this, anyone who doesn't believe is this. No such thing.
I think one of the confusion here is,
Am I making sense? You listening? Okay, good.
I understand your point. So Akif Hamdani has the vilayat over Iran, but does his ruling apply to me while I'm sitting here in the US?
As far as administration is concerned, I mean, the fact remains, administrator of a country is in that country. You don't have an administrator of Iraq ruling Kuwait. So the president of Pakistan hardly runs his own country. How would you imagine running, for example, Kashmir or another place? You know, so you know, I mean, the fact is, the administrator, any wali, any political leader runs his own country. If he does, he runs his own country.
No room for denying him being faqih.
Yes, faqih means that he's a jurist, mujtahid. If you believe he's a mujtahid, you know, Sahib Risala as they call, he has a book of fatwa, he has his regular lessons, he's teaching ijtihad every week, and they're on websites, there are all these lessons over there on the website, you know, and mujtahids are present in his lesson, in his lectures. He is working with mujtahids, like senior mujtahids of Hawza, you know, and mujtahideen, maraji of home. So that is a fact. His ijtihad is there, his administrative. Now your question about his authority, does he go beyond his country? Well, administration is one thing. Of course, that's limited to the country. You cannot take that beyond the borders of the country. But as a mujtahid, his fatwa and rulings apply to all those who do his taqleed. That's one thing. If you do his taqleed, then you follow his rulings about how to do your salat, and that's one thing. And other things. Being the wali faqih also means that in matters that are universal interests of Islam, you know. For example, things that Islam as a nation, Muslims as a nation, their interests, you know, which are global interests of Islam, you know, they have to be determined by somebody. Somebody needs to, for example, guide the Muslims, you know, in matters that relate to the world of Islam. For example, we believe if, for example, our Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he appears, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, and he, for example, is living in Kufa. Will you say, well, Imam is in Kufa, that means he's in Iraq. No, his rule will apply to Iraq, and if I was an Iraqi, I will follow him. Now, if he crosses the border into Kuwait, okay, the Kuwait is supposed to follow if Kuwaitis support him. Is that what we will say? No, we will not. Because Imam will because now he's talking about global interests of Islam. For example, Muslims are being persecuted. A nation comes under attack. Right? For example, any Muslim country, how they make coalition forces, and the Western nations, they come together and attack one country, right? Now, all the Western powers are collaborating and massacring the people of Palestine. All the Western powers, for example, come together and create this genocide in Bosnia. All the Western powers come together and attack Afghanistan. For example, I saw with my own eyes in CNN, they announced after 1 week of attacking Afghanistan, right? After 1 week, they declared on CNN, who declared some senior in command over there. He said, today we can proudly announce that we have complete air supremacy over Afghanistan. Isn't this funny? Air supremacy over Afghanistan, which doesn't have an air force, doesn't have any guns, anything to shoot down an aircraft. Afghanistan, which is all stones and desert or lands, which nothing there to bomb, nowhere, no one to fight. So they arrange all these coalitions to attack a nation of starving people. So who's going to support these innocent people in Afghanistan? Who do you expect to support? Who's going to tell the Muslims what is your obligation with respect to these innocent, starving people? Somebody should say that. We, especially who believe in imamat, that one imam should rule the world, we should have somebody who lays down the obligations. Okay, this is your obligation right now. Otherwise, we won't be relevant really. We don't even count if we take a position that we wait till the imam arrives. Well, imam is right there actively doing his job. He's guiding you and me and other mujtahideen and people around the world. He's doing his job day and night. And he's supporting you. He does support mu'mineen when they come together, stand up for the cause of our imam. He supports them in miraculous ways. You don't even believe, how could that happen? وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرُوا اللَّهِ وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah's orders and awamir, they come down to this world through His awliya, right? His awliya, they bring down and they implement the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Just as the angels come down all the way to this dunya, who receives the command of the angel? Imam MASOM receives that, right? And Imam MASOM alayhi salatu wasalam, he implements the orders of Allah and commands of Allah on earth, correct? That means if you take an action, he's going to support you. You plan to, for example, serve your community. Spread Islam in this part of the world. You make that intention, azm, this irada, this conviction in yourself, I am going to save humanity. See what happens. Usually we make very small goals. If you make a goal, oh Allah, I want to save humanity. See what happens. You will be doing miracles. You will be the one saving the world. Didn't you see in recent times, one man changed the course of history? Just in this century, last century. One man changed the course of history. The great prophets like Ulul Azm, they had much greater powers because of their azm. Their conviction about, fulfilling the misaq with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat. Now, there are the very small rules about fiqh issues. Let's say this, the ones that are pretty simple. Can we say qunut in our native language while praying sunnat namaz? Yes. If you are doing a mustahab salat and in qunut you want to do dua in Urdu, for example, it's okay, you can, but not in wajib salat. In wajib you should do in Arabic.
in Qanut, can you say your own dua in your native language?
Qunut means any dua.
Yeah, but you're done with Arabic.
In Fariza, in 5 daily prayers, if it's your personal dua, if it's in Arabic, you can do it.
It has to be in Arabic.
Yes. You can, like, you have a certain dua, you go to an alim, write me this dua in Arabic. And you can do that dua. Allahumma ansur al-Islam wal Muslimin. Oh Allah, help the Islam and Muslims. Waqdhul al-kufra wal munafiqeen. Oh Allah, Allahumma arzuqni hajja baytik al-haram. Allahumma arzuqni rizqan halalan, tayyiban. Allahumma shfi kulla mareed. These are du'as you use for yourself, right? So this is how we use, We don't get into very detail like, oh Allah, I want to buy that house. So you don't usually do that dua in Qunut. You just say, Allah, give me a place, a halal place to live in. So in a general way, Or you start saying the name of the woman you want to marry. You don't want to say that in Salah. You usually make it general, general dua. Yeah. Not that you should not, but make it a general phrase in Arabic, which is, yeah. From which book did you quote the narration about Bibi Sayyida being slapped by the Dushmanan Ahl Bayt? How confident are the book in authentic? Well, there are narrations in our history that 16 people, they mistreated her. Janab Bibi Fatima Salamullah, 16 people's names have come. 16 names have come. Qunfuz and I don't know, Mughayra and his people who were in charge at that time, and there were 16 people. I've heard a very senior scholar. He had researched in this subject. Somebody used the cover niyam of the talwar, cover of the sword. Another person used the whip. Another person's hand. Another person threw the door on her. All of that is in history. Now, it is reported. Now, it may be 100% true, or it may be less than true. That means the more happened than was actually narrated, right? Because she died, in 3 months she was gone. And she was 18 years old. Many ulama believe she was just, popular understanding is she was 18 years old or maybe 20 something, right? 5 years more, add 5 years to 18. How much? 24 years old. 24 years old. Young woman, she was strong. A woman of 24-year-old or 18-year-old is strong, What happened that she died? I mean, nobody just dies like that, And physically, Ahlul Bayt, Bani Hashim, especially the family of Holy Prophet, they were physically strong. Bani Hashim, they took care of their health. They weren't negligent. They were careful. They took care of their health. Their bodies were very in i'tidal. They were teaching us health, right? How could they have not taken care of their own health? She was in perfect health before. There's nothing wrong with her. Poor doesn't make you sick. They took care of themselves because they know what is the essential our body needs. And again, there are other resources, inner resources, which gave them strength sometimes without food. And awliya and people who reach that level of ruhaniyat, their nafs and natiqa develop certain powers that the body gets energy without food. That is all in ilm irfan. It is established. They have proven all this, and they've seen incidents of that. A lot of incidents, not just in Aimma Masumin, and people who are not of that rank even have reached that level. So, to deny this any part of that, okay, now we are not in that part of history right now. Centuries have passed, but if it's in history, and the fact that she actually died. Now, if you raise these questions about the Shahadat of Bibi Sayyida, which is pretty well established, everything about it is documented, right? Then there are things in history which are less documented. You will start doubting that too. For example, Shahadat of Bibi Sakina in Sham, right? Now the name has come as Ruqayya, but now has become popular as Sakina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, if He wants her to be called Sakina, we are fine with that. I mean, if Imam wants us to remember her with Sakina, it's okay. Like the name of Imam Hussein's baby was Abdullah. In Arabic literature, we find Abdullah al-Razi'. Abdullah Razi' means Tifl Shirkhar. But he has become known as Ali Asghar. Why? Maybe he wanted to be called Ali Asghar. Maybe our Imam put it in our hearts. From Alam Ghaib, he wanted the Shias to remember this child as Ali. What was about this child that he was called Ali? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we are okay with that. We don't change things, we follow. But the fact remains that there are things less documented. And not everything is in the books. Sometimes there's ilham in the heart of people. In every time, people listen to things from Alam Ghaib, not just from books. Well, Ayatollah Jawad Tabrizi, who passed away, Allah Maqamahu, 2 years ago, I think, Ayatollah Jawad Tabrizi, was a Marja Taqleed, great scholar. One of the senior students of Ayatollah Khui, Ridwanullah alayhi. Ayatollah Jawad Tabrizi, he went for ziyarat in his last year of his life to Sham. And he went to ziyarat of Hazrat Ruqayya, Hazrat Sakina, Bibi Sakina Salamullah alayha. And he was coming out, and some reporter, and this video is there on YouTube. Some reporter came and asked Ayatollah, what do you say to those people who have doubts about whether there is a grave, somebody is buried here, who is this, daughter, did Imam Hussein have a daughter? All of these doubts that people sometimes, non-Shia people, they raise these questions, And his answer, he said, first of all, well, we are people who follow documented facts. We don't just make up, we don't follow Wahm o Guman. We follow, but there are certain things in which shuhrat is enough. There are certain things in which the popular wisdom is understood and recognized. For example, we know that the Khanawada Ahl Bayt became Mazloom. We know that the family members of Imam Sayyidul Shuhada alayhi salam were taken as prisoners. That is a fact in books of history. We know that there were children also in the caravan of Usara. We know that there were some children who could have died in the way, and there are graves along the way, all through all over this path journey to Syria. Popularly accepted that this was a daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, right? Well, maybe Imam Hussein alayhi salam's daughter died here and became a symbol that the Ahl Bayt were Mazloom. They were brought to this place and she died over here, and this itself is the proof of itself, right? Sometimes you have used a book to establish, well, this book says Sayyida Sakina died in such as this place and buried in this location, so many coordinates, this so much meters from here. That's one way to establish. Another way is the living testimony of the qabr of Janab Sakina. Through ages, generation after generation has believed in that, right? Do you ever document everything that, for example, your great-grandfather died in, I don't know, Bangalore, India, or Gujarat, or I don't know, some place in Africa? You always write down in some place. No, you ask who is buried where, they tell you this is where you go and do the ziyarat and read Fatiha, right? Well, if millions of people are saying this is the qabr of Hazrat Sakina Salamullah alayha, it should be enough, because they were Mazloom, they didn't have political power, they were not writing history, they couldn't even protect themselves, they were being killed, oppressed, and they were hungry and they died. Children were falling from the camels. Do you expect somebody to write this down? Who was in power? Who was the oppressor? No, they were Mazloom. And we are with the Mazloomeen. Even 1% chance of one of the ashab of Imam buried in some place, or one of the family members, we will hold it to our hearts. We will say this is where they were buried, and we will go there to do ziyarah. And Allah has protected these graves, right? Today, after centuries and centuries, now you go to north of Iraq, somewhere close to the border of Syria, where the Battle of Siffin took place, right? Many of us probably don't know that now that place also has been constructed, renovated, and you can go and do ziyarat of the qabr of Ammar Yasir. There's a place in Misr for the qabr of Malik Ashtar. Allah protected these places. Well, Imam Ali alayhi salam was in power, that's why Malik Ashtar, history was recorded. Well, there were ashab in the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, or Imam, our 10th Imam, 11th Imam. Imam was not in power. The ashab died, but people in the neighborhood, they recognized that this is where the qabr is, passed on from one place to another. People recognize that, and we accept it. We recognize it. We don't go into these details about who wrote where, because we accept it, Salawat. So you should trust your hadith. The hadith of Ahlul Bayt, the conventions, Shia conventions, Shia conventional wisdom, the traditional way of, showing respect to Aimma alayhi salam, the ziyarat of holy places, the qubur of ashab, Aimma, all of these are part of our religion. We don't need anyone to tell us this is right, this is wrong, because we know it. It is generally known. This is a place of shahadat of Kumail ibn Ziyad, for example. Kumail. We go and do ziyarat. We went personally to ziyarat. We went a long way to do ziyarat of Hur, which is like an hour away from Haram of Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada in Karbala. We do that. Now, where is it written, this is the qabr of Hazrat Hur? Was there a map with scientific, so many degrees, so many meters? No. Everyone said, this is the qabr of Janab Hur. We go and do ziyarat no matter what. Why? Because maybe his qabila afterwards came and took his body and buried him an hour away. It's just fine. No problem. Is it necessary or right to take the names of Ahlul Bayt, particularly Imam Hussain and his sister Janab Zainab Salamullah? It is right and it's necessary, of course. We sometimes use al-qab, titles, Sayyida Mazluma, I don't know, Sharikatul Hussain. There are so many names given to Sayyida Salam. Uliya, Muazzama, other names are given, and Batalatu Karbala, Ummul Masa'ib, Janab Zainab Kubra Salam, Sani Zahra,
But if you name your daughter or somebody Zainab, can you call Zainab?
Yes. It is an honor for us, to use the names of Ahlul Bayt. It's an honor for us. We should use the names, because these names were given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have some intrinsic, effects. It's Fatima, because Fatima al-Khalaiq and Ma'rifatiha. Fatima is someone who will save the people from hell in Qiyamah. Fatima is someone from whose Ma'rifat, even the Anbiya and Mursaleen were kept away. Even they couldn't recognize the greatness of Fatima salamullah alayha. Fatima it inspires a young Muslim woman or any Muslim woman when she is called Fatima to that it's like an effect. Like you say Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah. These have spiritual effects, Why do we say Alhamdulillah? Or like, for example, Shukr Alhamdulillah. When someone hiccups, say Shukr Alhamdulillah, because they are real effects, because you have been given a new life. You hiccup, or for example, you sneeze, you say Yarhamukallah. It's a prayer given to us by Aimma alayhi salam. And they told us keep the names of Holy Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima and Zainab. These are names given by Allah through Jibreel to Holy Prophet. He named them. These are effects. They are effects of these names. We use these names for our children. On the day of judgment, are human beings, what time is it? Another 5 minutes or 10 minutes? How long? Yes? 10 minutes, inshallah, we'll finish this. On the day of judgment, are humans going to be raised with their original faces, or would they be manifested in animal form based on their worldly deeds? Our actions, when they are repeated, they form kamalat inside. Malakat, they call it technically. Malakat means deep-rooted moral traits, right? and sometimes we see them in our dream even, because dream is a lower stage of alam barzakh. You travel, your nafs travels in dream. Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. Allah says He takes the soul of a person while he's dead and while he's sleeping. So the soul actually travels, just like death. The experience of death, the experience of dreaming or sleeping is exactly the same as death. People who die exactly go through the same thing. Now sometimes they go beyond that, but that is the same experience. And they sometimes say their inner qualities in their dreams too. Sometimes they are not really deep-rooted, just experiences that happen during the day. There are so many kinds of dreams. Ru'ya Sadiqa, there are other Bashara, there are these things, dreams, there are Azghasu Ahlam, as Surah Yusuf says, they're just about all these things happening, coming into our ears and what we see, and all these confusion that's created in the soul. We go through all that in dreams sometimes. But now the ones that are deep-rooted qualities, they manifest. When a person dies, the tajassum amal, these amal come in real form. This tajassum amal, is a fact. This person, he or she is living that reality now. Up till now, it was hidden from his, from his view, his consciousness. Now he is there with it, living it. Now, we believe in Shifat. Our Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, they come to help us, because our way is not finished, our journey is not finished by death. In this life, we take a direction. We take like a road, a highway. Just like you plan today, I'm going to drive all the way to Dallas. You take the right highway, you're on the track, right? So you are in the direction, going there. Whatever stages happen in the middle, you're ultimately going in that direction. You take the direction of, for example, Ali Murtaza alayhi salatu wasalam. My direction in dunya and akhirat is to be with Ali alayhi salam, and you study books about him, you do some ibadat, you do his ziyarat, whatever comes, whatever you could possibly do, right? And death comes. Okay, now one of the places of shifaat is a person who has done gunahan kabira or done bad things. Our imams come and do the shifaat of these people. How? Because this person is still in the state of munajat, still in the state of tamassuk, tawassul with Ahlul Bayt. Even through those difficult stages of alam barzakh, he is crying for help, he's asking for help. Don't you see in Du'a Kumail, Imam Ali alayhi salam is describing in the words of a person in Jahannam? Right? This person in Jahannam is saying, Oh Allah, remind me, what are the words in Du'a Kumail? This person is speaking to Allah, right? Now compare this person to a person who is in Jannat and who has forgotten Allah. He's gone there, he's enjoying and having fun in Jannat. Just saying shukr, but this person is crying, invoking the mercy of Allah, right? Who is closer to Allah right now? Question really. He is truly seeking Allah right now. Allah will save him, of course. Allah will not. Imam Ali says, Hayhat, ma hakaza zannobik. You cannot leave your muwahid in hellfire. You will not do that, right? He's saying it himself, right? That means a person who is probably in hell right now, but crying to Allah and seeking Allah, not Jannat, seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is right now in closer contact with Allah than that person who wanted Jannat in this dunya in the first place. He has gotten it, he's gone, he's forgotten everything. On the day of Qiyamah, some people will be running away from Allah towards Jannat. There will be some who will be going to Jahannam because they hate Na'uzubillah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They go into that hell and they burn. And if they hear the Holy Prophet is coming to Jahannam to save anyone, they hate him so much they don't even want to see the face of Holy Prophet. They want to be away from the Holy Prophet. They hate him so much. There are people like that. The people who have that kind of hatred in their hearts in this dunya, they live with that hatred forever. But you love Ali alayhi salam, you love Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, whatever happens, they will rescue you one day. They will save you. No matter what. No matter what, they will save you. Shifaat. Iman and Shifaat. They will save us. No matter what, they will save us. Any bad thing a person does, but if it's truly, if he truly believes in Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, well, he'll pay the price of those things. But eventually Ali alayhi salam will come and say, but we should not content ourselves with this, We have to strive for more. You shouldn't say with your Jannah. I mean, come on, Jannah everybody will get. If you love Ali, you will get Jannah, fine. But is that what we are made for? Is that what we are created for? Some people get into Jannah and forget about Allah, all those higher stages of Jannah and liqa'ullah and everything, they forget that. And if they even try to go into higher place, they'll be said, no, just stay here. Because you have not learned the adab of being with the awliya. If you go there, you will mess yourself up, you mess things up. Stay here, this is where you belong because and this is good for you. It's not bad for you. These stages of heaven are good for you because you belong here. This is really a reward from Allah. You are not being punished, you are rewarded by Allah. And they will be content, of course. But to go to the higher stage, you will learn higher ethics, higher morality, higher adab of being in a situation you can talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talk to Ali al-Murtaza alayhi salatu wasalam. That's what we want. So we train ourselves in this dunya with the adab of awliya so that we want to be with them. That is our Jannah, to be in the company of Ali al-Murtaza, not to be with Hur and Qusur, because that's Hur and Qusur will eventually anybody will get. If you love Ali, you will get it. He's going to save us. There's no doubt about that. Salawat. Well, inshallah, bless us all. And with the nuraniyat of Ali and Fatima and all the family and Ahlul Bayt, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds and forgive our sins and save the mu'mineen, azadaran of Sayyid al-Shuhada all over the world and defeat the plans of enemies of Islam. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين ويا سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك منا جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقينا وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد منا لزيارتك. Let's say together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي باقر علوم الأولين والآخرين، السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق البار الأمين، السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم باب الحوائج، السلام عليك يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى الرضا الراضي بالقدر والقضاء المغيث للشيعة والزوار في يوم الجزاء، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي التقي الجواد، السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي النقي، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي الزكي العسكري، السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن يا إمام الإنس والجان، الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك، والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
मोमिन मोमिनात तवज्जो फरमाएं, कल यहाँ बाद नमाज मगरबैन जश्न विलादत इमाम ज़ैनुल आबदीन अलैहिस्सलाम मुनक़िद होगा, जिससे जनाब क़िबला शमशाद हैदर साहब खिताब फरमाएंगे और कल नमाज मगरबैन बाजमात इसकी इमामत भी क़िबला जनाब शमशाद हैदर साहब फरमाएंगे। आप लोगों से गुजारिश है कि वक्त की पाबंदी के साथ तशरीफ़ लाएँ। शुक्रिया।